All right, it is 9:40 a.m. and I just want to know that this is not in my realm to trade high day breakouts or breakouts. I'm more of a guy who likes to dip buy stuff and trade things accordingly to that. Not necessarily again be the kind of guy who likes to trade things on an uptrend, more like buying things on a dip or maybe buying on a dip right when it looks like it's starting the uptrend. But this was a high day breakout. It's 31 by 32. And I had my sell at, it might be sub penny 30, which is right here on the level 2, the current price. But it did get as high as 32, and I just decided to sell because I just felt kind of uneasy with this. But this thing can totally keep going, and it can get to, a much higher level, especially when you look at how this thing can do stuff like that. It's the kind of stock that can have like a really big uptrending day and then a continuation. This was pretty impressive here back in September. And yeah, I wonder what this one can do. If I had to guess, I'm pretty much gonna guess that I sold this thing too early, but I don't know. The thing was just shooting straight up. Anyway, I was in at this level right here. I actually did trade a $10 risk level. Now I rounded off to maybe a $7 risk level, but it was close to a $10 risk level. What I meant to say is that I traded this and it ended up being a $7 risk level, which is close to a $10 risk level. And the idea was that this thing can try to uptrend. I really like it. A lot of this, you know, a lot of these OTCs can do something like this, where it kind of trains in a range in the morning, and then it, starts to get strong. And you can see here it didn't get below the 25 level, started to have like a base higher than here, and then it started hitting the people at the ask, started the uptrend, and take out the ceiling here, which was 26. And it made this nice move as high as 32 as of right now. Maybe it's all it can do, but I mean, if I had to guess, this thing can absolutely, it doesn't have to, but it can absolutely continue the uptrend. And I was in at 937 at 26, which was right here. It looked like it was going to do it. And my idea was that if it was going to break VWAP, which at the time was this 24 level, worst case I'm at the low, which is 23, and I would have lost like $7. But it looked like it was going to work out, and it did do it. It did get, you know, to where it is right now, and it can continue maybe downtrend from here and put a higher low somewhere, and then it can continue the uptrend more if it doesn't want to continue the uptrend here. And I had my sell at 940, which was this candle right here at, I want to make sure I got the exact number. I'm going to log into Fidelity and see if it was 30 or maybe 29 or 29 and a half. And I'll get the exact number, and I'll see how much I made. I'm not extremely sure how much I made off of this trade, but I actually, in theory, did trade close to a $10 risk level. If I wanted to be perfect, maybe, I don't know, 35,000 shares would have been $10 risk level if it didn't play out and I sold at 23. Let's see what my size was, just to get an idea. Was it really a $65 position? Wow. Yeah, because that was the thing with this one, right? If I can type it out, if I'm in at 26, right? $65, and then worst case I'm out at 23, right? That's like, yeah, that's pretty close. That's like $7.50. That's according to a $10 risk level. And because it's such a low price sub penny, man, I wish I traded larger, even though I traded accordingly to a $10 risk level. I'm going to see what my exact sell was, and I'll make an update later. And as for the other things, there's nothing else that I really see that I want to trade right now. It was just this with PUGE. Alright, I am back. Yeah, I saw that it wasn't at 30, it was at 29 and a half, so probably right here is when I sold at 940, and it ended up being, I think, about $10 in terms of profit. It's probably going to be a really nice percent gain because this is a low priced penny stock, but that's cool. It's trying to break out. It did hold this level here at 30, and you know, it might not continue, but it at least try to break the ceiling here at 32. And you know, it's starting to hit 33. It was kind of nerve-wracking because there was a hidden size at the ask, and there was also just a lot of people at the ask in general. But it broke past it and it made the move, which is cool. And this is again something I have less experience with, trading breakouts. But that was a pretty cool trade. Overall, happy with it. Maybe I could have been more patient. Perhaps I could have, you know, drawn my infamous trend line right, and then maybe consider selling it when it pierced through, and then I would have had a solid sell into the 30 level. But yeah, it's at the moment where I am right now, I don't feel um like, I guess, patient enough to just hold on to it still and just hope that it's gonna base and then maybe make a uptrend later. I would probably sell everything or maybe half and then go for that continuation, or maybe sell everything and then wait for a dip to buy into. So I will be interested in perhaps a dip. Depends on how it does it, but as of right now, this is pretty cool. It's at 32 by 33, and I got to 34 briefly. That's about it for right now. I don't know what did I click over there. I'll make an update later. Alright, as you can see, this similar setup to the other one. Maybe I'll actually do it, but every time it breaks 13 and 13 is at the bid and 14 is at the asks, nobody hits 14, and then it goes back to the way it was previously. But maybe I'll actually do it this time. Let's take a look. I just got in and out of a trade. I didn't lose anything. At least I shouldn't have lost anything, unless maybe by half a penny or something like that. But I'm gonna guess, yeah, you see it just switches back to 12 13. That's mega sketchy. This is one that did not work out, at least not right now when I was in it. Maybe if I can draw a trend line, this will give you this will give me a timeline. I guess that's a really long timeline for it to play out. Maybe something more aggressive like this will be better. Perhaps a line from here. So maybe here. I'd say this thing is about to run out of time if it doesn't do it anytime soon. So essentially, I was in at 10 o'clock, and that was right here at 13. It looks like it was going to do it, and it did do it. It did break all the people at 13, and then 14 was at the ask, and then, you know, 13 at the bid. But the problem was is that there was like a humongous person at the ask. It was with this amount of shares. I don't know what you call that, maybe 10 million shares, right, at 14, and it did not look nice. It was ugly looking. So for that reason, I, you know, noticed that. And then the two times that it did break 13 and nobody would hit anything at 14 and it would go back, I just got tired of it, so I left it alone and I got out for the same price. In theory, I got out in and out at the same price. Maybe I made something if when I bought I got filled at like 12 and a half, but I doubt it. Yeah, I highly doubt it. I'm pretty sure I just got in and outs at the same price. And yeah, this thing I would not be happy. At least a big seller isn't there, at least right now at 14, and we do have a big bidder here at 12. But for this to hit 12, wouldn't it be that nice looking? And I mean, off of this trend line, which let's see if it's, yeah, it kind of plays off of this level too. So I say it really needs to do it sooner rather than later. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of ugly. It might not work out. But I did like it because it did uptrend the other day, in that it had a lot more volume, as you can see, over a long period of time. Let's see if somebody hits 14. Yeah, those big sellers are still there. There's two of them. It can do it. I'm not saying it won't, but it's just less likely. And you can see a print just went through at 13. It wasn't at 14. So it's like hidden sellers or something. let's see if this one actually does it. If it makes a move towards 14, if it just touches it, maybe 13 and a half, and it rounds off to 14. But that is a big wall of sellers. Somebody has to buy a whole bunch of shares, or a whole bunch of price action has to go through for it to do something nice. Somebody hit 13.5. That's cool. Is that going to bring more confidence? No, we're back at 12. Oh, okay. Now we have a bit of a spread, perhaps. No, actually, it's back to 12 by 13, but it is looking stronger than it was. But I don't like how it's piercing through this trend line that I made, playing off of it, which actually, even plays off of this first candle here. So I would not be too interested in it right now. It'd be a little too scary. I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it's less likely it's going to work. And okay, yeah, that was a print at 12. Okay, I'll make an update as to whether or not this thing works. And PUGE is still trading around this level. At this point, I would not be interested in buying this. It would have to dip under VWAP for me to consider it. I wouldn't just trade it like this, like, oh, let me just buy this random support level. I feel like if it was going to continue the uptrend, it would have done it by now. And this was too long. Maybe it might actually break it now. I might be interested in this for a dip, but definitely just not. I'm not going to consider it like just right here because it's holding support. Okay, it is 10:16. I got in and out of another trade with BSTO. It's doing it, but the way this one did it is super sketchy. The volume isn't really there. The spread is huge, and I just traded 100 shares because this one actually is something that makes sense trading such a small amount of shares. Anyway, I was in at 12 cents at 10.10, and you can see this thing's massive. It went from 6 pennies to 21 pennies, and then it did the drop under VWAP, and then it's starting the uptrend. It's starting to curve around, so that's why I was in at 12, thinking that it could do something like this and get to VWAP and maybe even break past VWAP, and that would be super profitable. But this just the way that it trades is very ugly. Now we have a big seller at 12.39, which is not good. Yeah, so I was in at 10.10, right here, 10.10 at 12, and I got out at the same price. I didn't lose anything, and it looked like it was gonna do it because I drew a trend line, right, and it was following it. And for a really long time, I tried to sell for like more than what I bought it for, and it just did not really work. Let me show my verified canceled orders. Right, I tried selling at 12 at 10.12 when it looks like it was kind of being sketchy, and even though that was my original price that I got in, so like 12.4 was at the ask, and I'm not sure where the bid was, but if somebody like that's a bigger seller at 12.3. Wow. Sometimes you put a sell order and your limit is 12, but if 12.4 is at the ask, and the print goes through at 12.4, you might get out at 12.4. But yeah, and then I tried to sell at 11.4 at 10.13, and then it was just not doing anything. It was just not doing anything. Yeah, it was all sketchy like. And then I placed one final order, and I did get filled eventually at the same price. Right, I got out at 12, and that was at 10.15. This one is sketchy. It can totally do it. Like get to VWAP and maybe break above it. But I just don't like how it's trading with this big spread, and I don't like the big sellers either at the ask. Ideally, those guys could go away. So, yeah, no more trades with that. And as for the other one, right, AHFD, it did get to 14 just briefly. I think it was 10,000 shares that hit 14, but it clearly broke under this trend line. And I mean, I don't know about you, but this looks like topping action. Although there is a big bidder here at 12, there are some huge people at the ask. So I'll make an update later. There's nothing I really want to trade right now, but That was pretty impressive with BSTO, that really sketchy stock. I'll make an update later. AMC might try to do inverse head and shoulders again, but it's not going to be. Actually, no, it might actually play off the same level as yesterday, so I might consider it. However, it was better the first time I dropped to that level. Now, the second time, the next day, it might not be so nice. Okay, it is 10:38 a.m. and I totally missed PUGE, and that is totally my fault. And it didn't have to work out. This one did work out, and I drew my famous little trend line from where I think I would have considered it if I was long in this setup, and I would have been out in the 32s. This is very nice because they had that ceiling right here at 26, the one that I traded, and then it made that move towards the 34s. And I even talked about it that I was going to consider it on a dip, and it did that. It broke under VWAP, right? And guess where it went to? It went to the same level. Support, resistance is now support. And in theory, I could have been in at maybe at 28. And it even had this thing here where it started to have like a little base higher, right? Even this was higher than this level. So I'm sure the level 2 price action looks in favor for something like this. And it made a very nice move. And it did like briefly get under the trend line a little bit, but this thing is a sub penny. It kind of trades in chunks, 32, 33, 34. It's not like 28.95, 28.76. It's a little bit more chunky, and yeah, pretty salty that I missed this one, and that was totally my fault. And as for BSTO, I fell off a cliff. Very happy that I had my sell at 10.15 right here, just because it wasn't following the trend line anymore, and I didn't like the price action, the big sellers at the ask, and maybe they panic sold on the way down. I don't know, and it's all the way down here. I kind of thought about maybe, I mean, it could be something where it could be a dip buy at this point if it maybe breaks a downtrend, right? Maybe something off of here. Like maybe it could try to consolidate here in reverse. I mean, given how close it is to the open, but this thing is on a gap up, so it's not really that nice. And if you look at it over a long period of time, it's had these things before where you can see these big volume spikes, not as big as this one, of course, but it's done this before when it just has a big spike and then it sells off, and then it does it again and it sells off, and it did it here, it sells off. So it's not that ideal for a setup, but it could be a dip buy at some point, but I'm probably not going to consider it anymore. Maybe I would consider PUGE just a speculative size if it breaks 34. I might be kind of slow to it. This could be something, but I'm not going to trade large with this if I could trade it. Alright, it is 10:57 a.m. and I had one trade with AMC, and I think I'm going to lay off the trading. I feel like I'm trading too much, and I'll go over it, but again, it wasn't as ideal as it was yesterday when I traded it a few times because it was the first time that it downtrended and was playing off of this level right here, and again here and here, this day right here. But I decided to take one speculative trade. I didn't really trade a proper $5 risk level, I believe, but I'll go over it. And I was in AMC 10 shares at 10.46 at 22.25. So that was going to be right about here, right at 10.46. Yep, 22.25. So right here. And it looked like it was going to really do it an uptrend. And, I like how it, came here and then it, tried to follow this line here until it broke it, right? And then it tried to follow it again from the bottom, and then it downtrended, and then it kind of picked itself up. So right in that, inertia, I guess you can call it, that momentum change, that's when I got in for that reason. I did draw a trend line from the wick here to, I believe, this wick here, and it did follow it. And I sold 5 shares at 10.50 for a slight profit, 22.29 at 10.50. Right here, 10.50, I sold at 22.29. Just half of my position, just so I can have more patience to hold on the other half, and if I have to cut the trade and it breaks a trend line and I have to sell the other half for a loss, or worst case scenario, I have to sell it at the day low because it breaks it or something like that. At least I sold 5 shares while it was still uptrending, half of my position, and then maybe I'll end up break even or slightly profitable, or maybe just a small loss. I don't take a full-sized position cut. The trade didn't fail immediately, so it started the uptrend. I sold half on that uptrend, and then again, if it stops uptrending, then I have to sell the other half for a loss. Again, it kind of prevents me from losing a lot. It also prevents me from making a lot if it spikes a lot, but at least it gave me more patience to hold on to the setup better. And I did get out the other 5 shares at 10.54 at 22.22, which is a slight loss from this, entry price of 22.25. So that was at 10.54 because it looked like it pierced through it. And honestly, it didn't. I felt a little salty after my sell because it, looked like, okay, maybe it's actually going to hold the level and continue the uptrend without me. And why did I cut it then and there? Because the idea was is that I was gonna cut it if it was gonna get under this 22-23 level because that's where the wick was at that time. And the thing is that 22-22 showed up at the bid, but nothing actually got executed at 22-22. So when I took a sell, it was, you know, still at basically if you round it up to 22-23. So, that kind of left me a little salty, but it actually did downtrend. It broke under the trend line, and I would have gone out of the trade the next minute. So somebody's ringing the phone. I'm gonna be back in a moment. Okay, I'm back. I'm not extremely sure where I left off, but it did break under the trend line the next minute, and I would have cut it anyway. And it looks like right now it's still trying to hold the level, and it could be inverse head and shoulders here, shoulder, head, shoulder. Not the best one because this is right at the head, and I think it might have even have broken under the day low, maybe right here. So it's not that ideal, but it could still try to do something, right? The low of this candle is 22.12. So yeah, it was probably lower than the lowest point here, which would be the head. Actually, no, this was 22.11, so it could do it, but I don't like it. It's not as nice as it was yesterday. However, I do feel like a gambler wanting to jump in here and just cut it immediately if it breaks the level, but I probably shouldn't. Maybe just one share just to say I did it, but I do need to hold back on my trade. I feel like I'm trading a little too much. Okay, it is 5:34 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I am up on a day, $8.84, and that was mainly from the first trade with PUGE, which worked. All of the other ones did not work or were scratches. This was the original setup right here, the breakout past 26. I really like how it came back to the level. I wish I was a part of this, but I did not trade that. And then it did do a breakout here later in the day. I forgot what my take was on it. Oh, right. I did actually try to trade this, and it didn't. Yeah, it didn't really work out. It did later break this level, but oh, I haven't even gone over the trade. Wow. So I did have one more trade with PUGE, and that was a high day breakout. And I was in just 5,000 shares, which is a very, very small. That's like an $18 position because I felt like I was trading too much, and maybe I'm seeing things that I don't really see. And, it just felt like, let me just trade a small amount because I feel like the setup could happen, but it doesn't have to. Let me just trade something small. I'm not going to make much or lose much if it doesn't work. It's just gonna be something that I can learn from. And I was in at 213, and my entry was 36 right here. It looks like it was gonna break it, and it did the same thing as the other one with AHFD where it would break this level at 36, but then 37 is at the ask, 36 is at the bid, but then it just comes back to the way it was and it fails. It did briefly get to 37, but I got out by the time it was 217 because I didn't like the price action, and I had a little trend line right here, and when it broke it right here, I just felt like it was less likely going to work, and it did dip, but it did come back. I mean, it got to 40, but I don't like the way it did that, so that was a pretty good attempt. Okay, yeah, I did try this. It just didn't work out when I got in. I would have liked it if this part right here didn't happen and it just, broke past it gradually. So that was the case with that. And I did trade AMC, which was a good call by me to stay away from it after that one trade. And yeah, it wasn't as nice as it was yesterday. I was in at in and out right here, this level playing off of the double bottom, and when it broke the trend line, I got out. Yeah, it continued to sell off drastically, so I'm glad in just be a part of Titanic sinking, right? Trying to nail the bottom. I knew at some point, this is the type of setup to leave alone, especially as we get later towards the day. Sometimes later towards the day can be nice for a high day breakout, but not necessarily a comeback. That's not something I generally see good for trading. And as for BSTO, it did actually turn around here when I thought about it, but it didn't really do it that nicely. I'm glad I left that one alone. So yeah, 5 trades, which is a lot. I feel like I overtraded a bit, but one of them really worked out, and none of the other ones worked out. I didn't lose anything on the other trades. I didn't work out. I did make just 9 pennies off of the AMC trade, and that one was a sized trade. Actually, no, I was half size. I should have had 20 shares. I'm looking at my other screen that has the stats, and yeah, that's about it. Just one trade that really worked compared to the other ones, and I could have sold better too. That's all I have for today.